Milling Through History presents The Homework Controversy. Is homework really necessary? Depending on who you ask, there will be two different camps that emerge. Some parents say it is needed to help make sure their students understand what is being taught and strengthen their skills that they learn in school. Other parents say homework is too stressful and does nothing to help their students, but does give them a lot of busy work. Studies have shown that homework is more effective for older students who do not perform well in school, specifically to help them improve in their studies. But why is it that homework still exists? Well, the origins of homework are greatly debated, but the earliest known reference to something resembling homework came from Pliny the Elder in Rome. He recommended self-study for his students. And yet, throughout the history of the United States, homework has been greatly frowned upon. Now, why is this the case? Well, primarily the reason for this is that the majority of students in this country from the 1700s through the majority of the 1800s would never have been able to attend university. As such, homework was seen as not a practical tool for the students to have. To further complicate matters, students could drop out of school at any time, especially if they found the work too difficult to understand and could find better opportunities to be useful at home farming or obtaining work somewhere else. However, towards the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, the debate over homework reached not only state government levels, but also towards the federal government. Children were being required to go to school and not be used as labor force for industries who were trying to find cheaper areas of labor to work for them. And yet, detractors of homework argued that homework was, ironic enough, in direct violation of these federal child labor laws that were being enacted, citing that the number of hours children dedicated to school, plus the number of hours dedicated to homework, meant that children were exceeding the number of hours they were permitted to work for and get paid for. Now, in 1901, homework was banned in California for students under the age of 15 until 1917. And while schools and state governments wrestled with the issue of homework throughout the first half of the 20th century, the course of homework took a dramatic turn towards becoming a permanent part of the curriculum due to a surprising area of popularity. The beginning of the Cold War saw homework gain traction as a necessary tool, and in 1957, with the launching of Sputnik, the federal government had a way in which they could say, we need students to take their studies very seriously, and if homework helps to ensure this happens, then so be it. In 1958, homework became part of the National Defense Program in the National Defense Education Act, which emphasized that schools would need to teach math, science, and foreign language. And so, from 1950 until 1965, homework was seen in a positive light. During these years, the United States and the Soviet Union had a period where the Cold War was rather warm, and the need to prove U.S. superiority over the Soviet Union was seen in every facet of life, be it from military, technology, science, even education. However, from 1965 to 1980, homework was seen negatively, and this can be attributed greatly to the events of Vietnam, the rise of the peace movement, and the rise of anti-establishment movements seen throughout the United States. Once again, homework took a positive turn in 1980 and remained so until 1995. It was during this cycle that the United States once again saw a ramp up of tension between the Soviet Union and the United States and the end of the Cold War. And with the end of the Cold War, once more, homework took a negative spin. As such, these 15-year cycles seemingly were repetitive, with homework once again becoming seen as a necessary tool around the 2010 decade. And yet, with the arrival of the global pandemic, homework suddenly went to the wayside as American families began to look closer at the education system as a whole and began to create new questions about the effectiveness of how public schools in this nation teach their students. And so, while we will see the battle over homework going back and forth, it certainly does show that every generation has their opinions, and as parents get older and they look back on their time in school with homework, perhaps some will want to continue having it stay in place and others will not. But undeniably, this remains a both local and state issue, namely because every state has to make up their own mind as to whether or not homework should continue to exist.
For more information, please consider these suggested titles. Be sure to click on the left-hand side of the screen to subscribe to our show, and on the right-hand side for our latest episode. And we will see you again for the next episode of Milling Through History.